So Depressed Nosagi with 106,000 subscribers made a video with 170,000 views about a day ago. Now, Bow the Whale and I actually put her and Vienna on game, and I encouraged them to go full time. And if you want to know why the hate for Bow the Whale is so strong, it's because, and I'm just going to be completely honest, they're just a liar, and they're stupid. And they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. And they know that. So all they do is just say what they think other people want them to say. I'll give you an example of this. There's this guy called Atsu, Asian guy stream. He made a Google Doc. They mentioned me in this, by the way, is one of the reasons why they wanted to kill themselves. And this guy put in here, what was it? I think it was 38 pages. And on page 34, he wrote that it wasn't a suicide note. But the problem is, the entire beginning was poised as a suicide note. So people who didn't read it, read the first paragraph, drew the assumption, blamed me, and moved on. But if you read the entire thing, you would see that this guy is a psychotic manipulator who feigned a suicide note just to dunk on me and all the content creators who wanted nothing to do with him anymore. And of course, if you see the top comment left 3 minutes after it was posted was Bow the Whale. Isn't it getting kind of sus how in cahoots with every Google Doc Bow always is? And puts, your life is irreplaceable, and I'm so grateful you're still alive with this, Atsu. Bow, it wasn't a suicide note. It was a fake one poised to manipulate and take advantage of the situation so that way Atsu could actually get punishment for those who did not need any punishment. She's stupid as she's retarded, and she won't accept that she's retarded, and she causes a lot of issues by just truly being that stupid. Now let's talk about it.
It is so easy to get hated on the internet. One moment you are the darling of your circle, the next you are everyone's favorite punching bag. Whether that be one Google Docie, one bad video, one sentence that crosses the line, many creators have experienced the full brunt of their audiences and the internet's wrath. But sometimes, this switch up doesn't happen immediately. It happens slowly and gradually. Beloved creators are usually accompanied by defensive fan bases and neutral onlookers who will justify their actions or give them the benefit of the doubt.
I still can't believe that Moist Critical has the audience that he has by just making poo-poo and pee-pee jokes and reading Reddit opinions out with a monotone voice. It's actually insane to me.
But this happens usually with just 1 or 2 mistakes. Multiple wrongs that resemble a pattern though, that's enough to gradually wear down this patience and respect. Such is the case of Bow the Whale, a beloved VTuber who has won hearts with her vulnerability, sheer raw energy, and more than hilarious moments. But
okay, there's a difference between vulnerability and just faking sad happen to farm sympathy. And I think people need to realize that. There's sympathy farmers, and then there's vulnerable controversies. And I'll be real, and I'm just going to say this. If you are trying to poise yourself as a vulnerable content creator, as a VTuber, you literally can't. Being vulnerable is about being truthful with your audience no matter what. And brother, you can't even show your face. So no, I don't believe this shit for a second. You're not putting the same level of detriment on your life due to the fact is when you want to retire, you can just retire and nobody will recognize you in public and you get to move on with your life. People who show their faces as content creators are going to be haunted by their vulnerabilities for the rest of their life where you get to skate by like consequence free. So no, you're not a vulnerable VTuber. You're just a chronic oversharer who's going to make up stories to farm sympathy. It's way different.
Just outside her close circle lies loud critics that awaits a come.
And also, 90% of Bow's jokes are literally just, I'm a massive slut, men are awful. That's it.
Across multiple platforms, it's getting...
And I want to remind you that Bow has a secret fansly. If that doesn't tell you everything you need to know, I don't know what will.
Harder to ignore the mounting backlash against Bow, and a few fans or onlookers might have seen these and felt confused. This video will chronicle these reasons, and hopefully it will serve as a lesson to public conduct as a content creator. Hopefully, it will serve as proof that the reasons people may love you can often be the reasons why people may hate you. Bow is an old soul in the internet. In fact, she's more OG than some of your OG VTubers. She used to go by the handle Hikaru Station, who uploaded her first video in July of 2015, almost 11 years ago. She was an utaite, a brand of YouTubers whose main content consists of covering Japanese songs. I would like to think she was relatively successful too. Even now at her peak, her top 3 most played song covers were from years ago, even before she had her Bow persona. This would go on for at least half a decade, up until the VTuber boom of 2020. Hikaru Station made a post on Reddit promoting her whale VTuber model. This would be when she gave herself the name Bow. Through viral clips, her half-decade of musical and content...
Dude, farming parasocials immediately by marketing herself as a shy, lonely whale VTuber? Oh my god, bro. Like, the entire persona is just farming parasocial relationships to an absurd degree. Good God, bro. It's so unhealthy to this level.
VTuber model. This would be when she gave herself the name Bao. Through viral clips, her half-decade of musical and content creation experience, and the network gained from this experience, Bao quickly rose through the ranks of being Western VTubing's most recognizable names, and she was a genuinely fun force to be around, yet at the same time, there was a rawness to her energy. She was unfiltered in a seemingly genuine, not cringy way. It felt like she was one of us, an actual weeb who loved VTubing, anime, and the very same things that we fans liked. She was as much as a degenerate as a lot of us, not in the "so you can goon to me" way, but in the "let's goon together" way. I need to be free! She wore her heart on her sleeve, and people noticed, so
good God, bro. It's just so cringe. It's actually so hard to even watch.
one can't help but open their hearts to her in turn. But cracks started showing, and at first, they weren't the cracks that many people thought they were. In mid-2023, Bao got caught into a bad situation, one that would sour and poison her perception of business and VTubing for years to come. She talks on...
And the worst thing is that, like, people watch these VTubers and they think they're, like, super hot in real life and, like, legit, like, they're all just, like, mid-ass women. Normally below mid, just chubby, fat, obese women. And for a lot of times, obese, fat men who use AI voice changers. Oh my God. No, they're just using AI voice changers because it makes them feel more comfortable. No, it's because they're a dude.
Stream about how she lost all her subathon money, scammed by an animation studio who is now refusing to render her any service. The total loss was $34,000. The studio behind this was One Studio Cell, manned by a person who claimed to have the qualifications under his belt, as he had previously worked with Tonari Animation, a veteran, well-respected studio in the industry. For reference, Tonari made Gura's Shark animation and was also responsible for working on major animes like Mushoku Tensei, Danmachi, and this entire list. So suffice to say, the person behind Studio Cell, James Wick, had the repertoire to lure in some potential clients. And initially, he indeed got clients like Girl DM, Osaka na Nimu, and Unigiri.
Now, I will say, guys, if a VTuber was actually attractive, they wouldn't be a VTuber. I hope that makes sense.
All of which had some good experience with Studio Cell, but quickly turning sour after some progresses in their projects. While this drama was broiling behind the scenes, Bao was the one that kicked the entire situation out to the public. Many VTubers like Sarue, Captain Hana, and even Giga all shared their horror stories with the studio, parroting the same incident, them putting money in it and nothing coming out. Though Bao was later able to get a partial refund due to her winning 2 PayPal disputes. Studio Cell even made an entire Google docu to try and justify on why he hasn't refunded the girls, but it wasn't received very well for obvious reasons. No service rendered means you don't keep the money. Obviously, we can all agree that this is not Bao's fault, like literally zero. James Wick and Studio Cell came from a prestigious, trustworthy background who had the talent, experience, and the work to back up their words up until the last minute. Anyone could have fallen for this. It was really only in hindsight where James Wick was discovered to be fired from Tonari, not as this person that he painted himself to be. Although this situation had some sort of partial resolution, things weren't going to let up. 2 weeks after this situation, Bao had to go to the Philippines. Alongside her manager, Charlotte, she was to personally attend Conquest, a convention that was marketed to be one of Southeast Asia's biggest in 2023. Remember Cha? She's a surprise tool that will help us later. This convention was super hype, but due to mismanagement, a whole lot of greed, and a whole lot of corporate it ended up being one of the worst con experiences in the country. I was there. I remember it all too well. That was a Taylor Swift reference. In any case, Conquest being as bad as it was affected everyone. The attendees, the artists and celebrities, and especially the staff. In fact, I feel bad for the staff the most. They were facing one in front of the backlash despite just doing their best with the bad situation. And because they were overwhelmed, Bao was severely neglected. Bro didn't have anyone to communicate with in regards to the appearance, when she was to show up, or even audio checks. Meanwhile, Shoto was apparently treated like a VIP. His balls always empty from the jobs the staff were blowing.
Shoto was probably the most attractive VTuber I ever saw, and it was a dude. Right? Like, Shoto is like a 5'10" Asian dude who's built like a tank. Vabe's pretty good looking. Silverveil's pretty good looking. Sarue's pretty good looking. Other than that, you know, they either just look average or below mid, and that's just the truth, guys. But the problem is they're talked about like they're sex symbols.
Nobody was talking to Bao, and it seemed like people there forgot about her. With her experience just recently getting scammed 2 weeks ago, her being essentially scammed now, she had a bit of a mental breakdown. More than a bit of a mental breakdown even. And when Bao wanted to talk to her community about why she wasn't appearing on time and why she wasn't anywhere at all, she took to Twitter to say that the organizers forgot about her. And when
I feel like it's very strange where people get offended by saying they look average. because the ideas that they have of these VTubers in their head are so dystopian to what actually exists in real life. It like scares them, and they'll take offense for them not even being called queens. It's so strange.
She tweeted that
So
was when
weird.
staff members decided to reply to Bao and even asked her to delete the tweet. Bao despaired over the situation, considering last year's Conquest experience was overall fun for her. Even the organizers showed proof that they did try to reach out to Bao, but with how bad the entire event was handled, there was really no saving it. This year was so bad that Conquest was cancelled for the foreseeable future. Bao would move on from this entire thing, and 7 months later, she came out with a sudden statement saying that she'll no longer work with Copium Merch, saying that she's not satisfied with their services and that Vita Ramen will take over. She later posts a tweet saying that she would like to stop being taken advantage of. Considering the amount she's been through in the past 8 months alone, it's easy to see why. And only 2 weeks after this, she would expand on her previous statement, detailing a bit more about the Copium Merch situation. She said that since 2022, she has not been paid by the company. After being repeatedly promised throughout 2023 that they would finally give her what she is owed this year, she learned that the company has actually burned through all their money and could
I actually helped Bao quite a bit dealing with her company issues, because no matter who you are, I don't give a fuck if a company's you. I would like to help you that company, because corporate greed and black companies need to be all shut down. It's outrageous. They have the means to help and they don't, and I think that's disgusting.
no longer afford to pay her. To try and make up what she was owed, Bao had to sell old variations of previous merch releases and despairs over the loss of trust and pressure from paying members of her community. Viti Ramen would try to help her with these logistics. It wasn't just Bao too. There was also Yuzu, Shoto, and even Amali that fell victim to Copium Merch and hasn't been paid for years. There was a thread a couple days before Bao released this statement. A VTuber, Isa Corva, released a Google Document about how their manager asked for a small loan of $1,100, only to then later learn that she also asked and borrowed money from multiple people using the same sob story and never paid them back. Bao would reply to this thread saying that she'll never get a manager again, and when a commenter pointed out that a manager could have helped with the Copium Merch situation, Bao responded that the owner of Copium Merch was her manager. Cha Latte, this person who was helping Bao with Conquest all this time, was the owner of Copium Merch. It was surprising to me because I didn't know. And Bao would later throw shade, pointing out that Bro had the audacity to look for new clients 2 months prior to Bao's expose, probably to try and pyramid scheme their way into paying what she owes, if she had plans to pay what she owes in the first place. Cha had seen Bao get scammed, emotionally wrecked, and spiral into a low place throughout 2023, and literally said that she got one more in her. Bao getting scammed 3 times within a span of a year is extremely unfortunate, but it also bred a bit of a negative sentiment.
And it also shows that if you get scammed that many times in a row, you're probably retarded.
Not negative, just a bit of doubt in her character. People felt bad for Bao, but some started to recognize that despite all of these not being her fault, how oblivious do you have to be to get screwed over to that extent multiple?
Do you remember what I said at the beginning of this video? You guys saw me pull this up. This was posted in my daily scramble. I'm telling you, the reason why people are tired of Bao is because she's actually retarded. And she poises herself in a leadership position, but the problem is she's retarded. And then she infects the VTuber fan base, which are largely majorly, not saying it's you, but they're also retarded. And so it becomes a mob of weaponized autism. And yeah, it's a problem to have to deal with that, because they'll run with any narrative that their retard streamer says.
Times in a short span of time. Perhaps she's too trusting for her own good. Maybe she surrounds herself with very manipulative people. Or maybe she's just not a very smart person.
She's retarded.
It doesn't necessarily paint a bad picture. Most content creators are stupid in many ways, including your
Not as stupid as Bao. There's levels to it. Yes, the majority of content creators are stupid, but there's barely any people as stupid as Bao.
yourself, truly. At least Bao hasn't promoted a crypto scam, bro. But 3 major scams in a span of a year? Jesus. This could stem from them being young or inexperienced, and in the cutthroat and volatile space that is the entertainment industry,
Bao is not young. She's like mid-30s. So no, it's not her being young.
people like Bao can get easily taken advantage of or easily get burnt. Bao is even aware of this criticism, with a post in December of 2024 where she says that VTubers such as herself cannot go after these failed companies and usually resort to forfeiting owed debt because even if they have a strong case against them, pursuing legally will continuously drain them of money and mental energy. Like, it's just not worth it. She further says that her being scammed all the time is just her being loud whenever somebody wrongs her, implying that she has been sent cease and desist letters as well as threatening emails, and that publicly outing these internal problems with business partners really only invite unnecessary drama, and that Redditor tier intellectuals would think they're an
Sorry, misspoke. Not mid-30s, early 30s. Want to clarify.
expert about how to deal with said problems. Another segment in her rant says that the people who scammed Bao, among many others, were experienced conniving sons of who also fooled even veteran and smarter creators. Anyone can be a VTuber manager. Anyone can be a studio or a company, even without the background to back it up. And that because VTubing is so new and niche, many predatory and malicious entities are looking to take advantage of suckers that are new and inexperienced. She seemingly hints at what
VTubing is still not new and niche. VTubing has been around for a very long time. Okay, a very long time. If you're still this ignorant of how people approach you, well, that's your own damn fault. Now, I will also be real. I thought to create a agency just for VTubers because something about being a VTuber makes them retarded. Like, I'll just be real. Like, who's like a VTuber y'all go for like a take? You know, you're like, oh, dude, there's going on in the world right now. I need to go to this VTuber right now to see what they think. There's none. There's none. The only thing VTubers can talk about effectively is what's going on with VTubers. But they can't actually talk about politics or like social commentary at all because the majority of them are dumb as shit. Oh, Nux. I always forget that Nux and Kirsha are VTubers because I just think of them as human beings. This happens all the time. Nux and Kirsha are not VTubers because they don't participate in VTube culture. They don't. I always forget this. I always forget. God, I'm mentally ill. And this is why VTuber fans are even more mentally ill because they don't see their VTubers as real people. They see them as anime avatars. Jesus Christ.
her previous manager was doing to her in this rant, charging $1,000 a month just to answer emails and actually just sitting on her ass.
Dude, I need to start a weekly podcast with Nux. And I just need to do it. I just need to know a third. Chad, if I were to start a podcast with Nux, who would be the third? And we would do it for 1 year and then we'd stop. 1 year of podcast every week and then done. Who would be a good third? And I wanted to not be a VTuber. We'll figure it out.
Instead of doing anything productive, pursuing multiple clients to manage them, to take little chunks out of everyone's money, and all the time while delivering nothing. And lastly, saying that people need to speak out whenever like this happens. And, you know, I agree with everything she said at this point. Nothing but facts there, for real, for real. I don't think it needs no breaking down. But living throughout all of these experiences and a few minor cancellation attempts by Twittards, like how she was receiving criticism for Bowberry being fat-phobic, and also a lot of Vietnamese people canceling her for saying Happy Chinese New Year.
Being fat-phobic isn't mean. It's built into our DNA. The reason why we're fat-phobic is because you're killing yourself by being fat. You should be actively discouraging people from being fat because that's them intentionally shortening their life. It's not wrong to call someone fat and encourage them to lose weight.
Bao developed a mental darkness. Throughout 2024, Bao has made it clear that she is not in the best headspace and in the best physical condition, often mentioning a sort of depression, chronic pain, especially from her TMJ issues, and her PMDD. These problems even got to a point that she needed to take a surgery. This dark mental space is key context for what she would do later, because 2025 would end up perhaps being one of her worst years. 2025 wasn't just a very bad year for Bao, it was a bad year for everyone in VTubing. Indie VTubing got bombarded by one drama after another, big players were leaving Hololive, V-Shoujo collapsed, Nijisanji also lost big players and had a sex pest problem. Ain't nobody was having fun in 2025, bro. But the second biggest drama was the great VTuber takedown of Sinder. Now, I'm not just going to recap the entire drama, but I am going to go through specifically Bao's involvement. When Nanoless dropped her initial Google Doc, Bao got involved and also created her own docu.
Yeah, a lot of people got this wrong. And this one also took me a little bit longer than I'd like to admit to catch on. But Nano, Bao, and Sinder all up in this situation. A lot of people put all the blame on Sinder, but it was Nano, Bao, and Sinder who all up.
Highlighting that Sinder is the reason Nanoless cancelled on her model and that this is a grave betrayal. That Sinder's manager, Redacted, was talking Bao to many people and even accused Bao of hoarding a channel editor and an MV editor, after which she would go on stream and cry about the experience that she had. Bao chronicles how completely blindsided she was, that she went out of her way to support and forgive Sinder's past wrongs, and that she hated the fact that Sinder saw them as competition. She further laments how this industry can turn good friendships into transactional relationships, about how ruthless and fake people can be to get what they want. Why her? Out of every friend Sinder had, why specifically her? It's hard not to sympathize with Bao here. To a Bao fan, acquaintance, or a Bao friend, this is soul-crushing.
Yeah, the way that they positioned this Google Doc with the screenshot messages was incredibly manipulative. Credits to Powder for really figuring this out first.
Oshi genuinely bawling her eyes out for a deep, deep betrayal is a pain very few can picture. And when you know that Bao has been through so much in this past year alone, it can be very easy to become unconditionally supportive. But then later on, Sinder responded, and we have some semblance of proof that in reality, Nanoless was not as powerless and manipulated as she painted herself to be in the original accusation.
Well, a lot of women like to infantilize themselves to say, oh, I had no idea what was going on. I was taken advantage of. I'm a stupid retard who's not responsible for my own actions. Like, you can go to like 99% of Google Docs written by women, and that's how they'll talk about themselves. I'm big, dumb, stupid retard. I had no idea what was happening. Like, legit. Think about Google Docs from the past like 5 years. Every single man is like a horrible genius manipulator. Every single woman is just like a brain dead retard. Right, and they do that by design.
Nanoless was the one that initiated exclusivity and canceling on others. Even if Sinder was ultimately a bad friend, it's undeniable that some facts have been omitted and words were twisted to paint her as more malicious than she actually was.
True.
The many people that are involved in this drama came to this extreme conclusion under half-truths and false pretenses by Nanoless, Bao most especially. With this in mind, the picture that a lot of people have painted was that Bao was just used like a fleshlight by Nanoless's agenda.
There it
now,
is.
under Sinder's 1,000-page Google Docie, Sinder and Redacted made a segment made especially for Bao. In this segment, they apologized to Bao, and Sinder even admits that she indeed had neglected their friendship. Cinder also admits that Redacted indeed hated Bao's guts, and that Cinder slowly got influenced by this hatred. And after the initial Google Docie dropped, Cinder wanted to explain her side of the story to Bao, but had already been blocked and refused to hear any of it. In the Google Docie, Redacted admits to hating Bao due to two incidents, where, in TwitchCon 2024, Cinder, Bao, and a few VTuber friends were supposed to meet for dinner, but she never showed up and just blew them off. Even everyone in that dinner was talking about her not being there. Then, a friend of Redacted lamented on how he was guilt-tripped and oated on by Bao to work with her on a project even though said friend insisted that they could not and didn't want to make it. And on the last night before they would go home, Bao said that she wouldn't eat and meet up with their friends unless the dinner they were going to wasn't fancy. The other instance was in Japan of the same year. Bao allegedly got angry at one of Redacted's friends for an incident with a rude owner, yelling and humiliating them, but was just told that it's just how Bao is. Lastly, when they were supposed to have a Canadian...
That happened a lot, by the way. Bao would just lose their mind at parties, just being full-blown drunk, trying to everything. And if you said, like, God, bro, if you try to stop her at all, she just got so out of control. Like, legit, like, it was like dealing with, like, a retard. You know, like it's like a zero med retard. It's actually crazy how reckless and stupid she is. It's nuts.
Thanksgiving together with friends, Bao never showed up and even said that she was on her way, but never appeared. All these incidents mixed together developed a seed of disdain inside Redacted, where he would start schizoing out whenever Bao got mentioned and wanted to take every chance he can get to talk her. This would lead to the whole incident, with Redacted telling Nanoless that Bao sucks and that she guilt trips people, especially with that one MV editor, Redacted telling Cinder not to do anything with Bao anymore, even to a point that they had big arguments about it. Now, me personally, these are things that don't justify having a hate boner against someone for. I think Redacted was being more than a little schizophrenic here. But,
yes,
and I failed to mention this in my Cinder video, I do think that it's wholly not something to be ignored. After the entire Cinder response unraveled, even neutral onlookers couldn't just ignore Bao's role in the story. She was easily manipulated by everyone around her. She was insensitive at times in regards to other people's time and resources, and uses her dark mental space or ult to get what she wants.
I need to let you guys know, someone being as stupid as Bao is, and I really need to, and I'm saying this a lot because it's very important to say, stupid people are dangerous as because if you're smart, you can inform someone why what they're doing is wrong. Stupid people don't learn. Stupid people will repeat the same mistakes. Stupid people cannot be reasoned with. Stupid people cannot be communicated with. And that's why you have a certain responsibility to try to educate yourself and grow, because staying this stupid is a danger to yourself and everyone else around you.
And that she takes people's words at face value, not doing her own research enough or look deeply into career-altering prospects or change. To boil it down, Bao is very stupid. Bao would later respond to the Cinder Docie by joking about how much she would like to get a heads up in case somebody out there wanted to make a Google Docie about her. But in regards to responding to the events painted by Redacted, she had these to say.
Apparently, a lot of things are worth putting into Google Docs now. I don't know, maybe like taking my editors out for dinner and, you know, one of my editors flying in from the Philippines. Apparently, prioritizing feeding them is a cause for, you know, a grudge against me. Actually, you know, another thing too is, you know, being so obsessed with me that you buy a Twitch sub and stalk my Discord, try to watch my mental breakdowns to my sub server. Apparently that's a cause for a growing grudge, or maybe
You don't think it's a little weird that you have mental breakdowns and the first people you tell about them are your chat? Hey guys, I'm in a really bad mental state. Let me ping my whole Discord server to group in this voice call so I can rant about how bad my life is. Bro, that's weird as f***. Like, the most I've said in like my 8 years as a content creator is I would invite my Discord members to come play Among Us with me. And sometimes I would say, bro, today sucks. Going to your chat to have a mental breakdown intentionally, that's retarded and that's psychotic.
being pissed off at a race.
Also, how hard can your life be, Bao? You're a woman, first off. Second of all, you're a VTuber who's a millionaire because they send because you sell lewd photos of your VTuber model. I don't want to hear you talking about how hard your life is. The only reason why your life is hard is because you refuse to grow and learn and educate yourself because you're retarded.
Racist Japanese shop owner kicking me and my friends out because we were foreigners. Apparently that's also justification for hating the absolute out of me. No, sorry, I should have been nicer to that racist old Japanese lady that kicked me and all my friends out despite us having a reservation.
Why are you acting like you should have a problem with racism, treating people differently based on their race, when Bao, you tell people to treat people differently because of their sex all the time? So I don't want to see a blatant misandrist virtue signaling and saying they have a problem with racism if you don't have an issue with people treating men like shit because they're men. So let's calm the down. That's why I'm racist and misogynist, because I believe you should be treated worse if you're a woman. I think you should be treated worse if you're black. Just have a little fun here, chat.
Yeah, no, it's cool.
She mentions prioritizing feeding her editor from the Philippines, Red or Cinder stalking her to find her mental breakdowns, and her being pissed at a racist
You can't stalk someone in public. What the f are you talking about?
Japanese store owner for doing racist Japanese things. Now, I don't know what she means in her first point. I don't think anything from the Cinder doc relates to this in any way. Maybe I can stretch it and say that this is the reason she flaked out on them multiple times. I don't know. For the mental breakdown accusations, I'm pretty sure she's referring to Red having this hate boner against her here. And for the yelling at friend in Japan restaurant accusation, she explains that she did what she did because the store owner was being racist and rude. Before we break down these responses, I would like to point out that I'm pretty sure Bao didn't mean for these to be her full-blown response or an explanation for what the doc is saying. Like, she didn't think these through. I'm sure there was more to what they did on both trips to TwitchCon in Japan. She did say she was just ranting, but even if this is the case, the fact is, people wanted or expected Shiley, Bao, or Nanoless to make a response. We already had Nanoless's response, which was pretty dog, but for Bao, this was the only response we had to go off of. So, let's work with what we have. Let's say the things Redacted says is exaggerated or painted in a way to make them look more favorable. You know, that's what everyone does in a Google Doc.
Of course.
It's only their account of the story. Bao also didn't refute all the allegations and just framed it as more favorable for her or just explained her side. So even if what Redacted says is partially true, it still kinda adds a bit more not.
I will say, every Google Doc that's been written about me has ended up making my community love me more. It's great. You know? And they got a whole bunch of dumb watching me for Genshin Impact out of my channel. Which, honestly, that is what saved me. Is the Genshin community turning on me and mass unsubscribing. That way I could garner new viewers and my channel would no longer be pushed to people who don't watch me. Because what these people don't realize is staying subscribed to me, not watching my videos hurts me. Unsubscribing from me and not watching my videos does not hurt me, right? And so that's why I still have a career today, because the people who tried to cancel me were so stupid, they actually helped me in the long run. It's great.
So favorable context. No one except Bao and the people she has shared the full story with knows what truly happened to her. But with the bits and pieces that's been shared by everyone else, it's hard not to think she's only telling parts of the story that makes her look good. The seeds of doubt against Bao has been watered, but the true unraveling of her reputation would happen soon after. Actually, it already was happening before she even responded to the Google Doc. and it's one that, to many, reframed her stupid girl failure mask into something much more colder and malicious. In
Can
October
you imagine
2025,
girl failure being sexualized, that they're just a useless pile of shit and they're a woman, so that's hot? So annoying to me.
she tweeted this out. If you're an up-and-coming female content creator with a small but growing audience and a much larger and successful male creator approaches you out of nowhere and showers you with attention on stream and in DMs, etc., don't walk, run. Now, the message itself isn't really that big of a deal, IMO, especially because at the time, the Mizkif and Emeru situation was happening in full force. This was a situation where Mizkif was being a vile person towards his former partner Emeru. Now, obviously, I read this tweet and I didn't even register that it was controversial. My reaction was duh, and I even retweeted it, putting attention into the male VTuber stigma and following up with the general interpretation that yes, creators bigger than you hitting you up out of nowhere should be a red flag. But of course, not everyone understood it the way I did, because Bao's wording specifically uses men. And in the current political climate that we live in right now, it unfortunately cannot be helped that the words we say have some sort of connotations, whether we like it or not, whether we intended it or not. So a lot of people were calling her out to be anti-men, a misandry.
And we're not calling her out to be anti-men. She's even stated multiple times that she's anti-men. They're showing a lot of people that are very adjacent to me. I'm praying to God I'm not in this. Oh, thank God.
A full-blown hypocrite who takes advantage of men, yet is the first one to cry about it.
The worst thing is that Bao is about men so much, yet the large majority of her audience are men. So I think that's ridiculous that you shit on the people who are your main supporters. Like, that's outrageous.
This situation actually got the lollymancer VTuber Shondo involved, but I don't want to derail this video by going into that. Those who understood or tried to understand what Bao was trying to say came up to Bao for clarification, but instead of clarifying, she instead said this.
And to the people that are trying to dilute what I'm saying to fit their own, like, stupid-ass anti-woman, I hate you, you're misandrous, I don't care, bro. I don't care, bro. Go fix your receding hairline. You ever heard of minoxidil? Yeah, try that, all right? Don't care. Wrap it up. Okay.
Not a good look. And look, there are undeniably a vocal few who are pissed and wanted to run with the worst interpretation of the tweet possible. Or
I am curious, how is her viewership going? I have a feeling she's probably fine. Let's pull this up. Bao. The Lonely Whale. Wait, no way she fell off that hard. Ooh. Ooh, losing followers every day too? Ooh. Oh, damn, bro. That fall off is crazy. Oh, is she botting? She's botting too? Oh my God. Wait, let's see. Well, hold up. It may have just been the one stream. I want to keep it fair. Ooh. Ooh, that just don't look good. Girl, that just don't look good. Oh, man, that does not look good. Holy shit. Holy shit. Oh, my God, that doesn't look good. Oh. Oh. That's a rough one. That, dude, that is rough. God, mother damn. Oh, she's cooked. Yeah, that's cooked. I would argue to say that most likely 50 to 60% of Bao's viewers are botted based off of those graphs. That is ridiculous.
People who may have some reading comprehension skill issues who took it the wrong way and just decided to run with what the outrage is saying. But there were also people who wanted to give her the benefit of the doubt. And when faced with these requests, one would expect that it should be
no, Bao's real viewership is probably somewhere between 500 and 800.
met with grace, but Bao instead decided to lash.
But as a VTuber on Twitch, that's bad, bro. That's horrible. So like, to give you an example, like a YouTube stream has access to 200, I think, how many, let me double check this. So there is 2.7 billion active users on YouTube, Rumble having 52 million, and Twitch having 240 million. That means like a viewer or a user on Rumble with 1,000 viewers is more so like a Twitch streamer with 5,000 viewers, because there's 5 times the user base. So having 500 to 800 viewers on Twitch is like having 80 to 100 on Rumble. That is rough.
out, citing that people are just mad at her for inserting themselves into what she is already saying, and in a later Discord message was ranting about how the backlash mostly stemmed from grifters and pyropups that were mad at her. Pyropups, by the way, are Cinder's fanbase.
Yeah.
Now obviously, these are not the best way to respond when people are asking for clarification, and it's not a great thing to see for the good faith actors trying to see what you are talking about. But later on, Bao in actual seriousness does respond to the backlash, a little bit more properly, although she's still pissed as hell and she still frames a lot of her detractors as retarded. She uses misgif as an example, saying that if you don't meet the conditions of these 3 things, then the tweet doesn't refer to you, and that when she says these things, she has a specific set of people in mind, but that she can't say who or she will get sued. And in her anger, she expresses that if
Yeah, you'd get sued if you say stay away from this content creator. Yeah. Or we're just doing blanket misandry because you're retarded.
you don't understand, then you are just straight up illiterate or intentionally trying to stir trouble. The rest of her response is just her giving a dissertation on the strat for a lot of big male content creators to get into different women's pussies, but it's
Dude, I've tried to be so fair in this video, but like legit, I have such a hatred for retards now. This is like borderline impossible. Because a retard who is, so the phrase is called midwit. Retards who don't know that they're retards and they have megaphones this loud are just like, dude, they cause so much damage nonstop. It's like, bro, at least like try to Google what the fuck it is that you're saying. Like, bro, if you at the very least can't run some shit through Cloud or Chat GPT or Grok, like, come on, man. Like, stop trying to off the top this shit. This is crazy.
not supposed to generalize. Again, I do understand what she was trying to say. I don't think she was trying to be misandrist with that one specific tweet, but
You are being way too generous right now, buddy boy. Way too generous.
calling being cancelled engagement farming,
Nuh-uh.
blanketing a lot of the criticism as just illiterates and angry pyropups, and going on a blocking spree instead of clarifying properly, it's hard not to see that she's being childish, that she refuses to take accountability, does not hold well to criticism, and does not know how to handle backlash. Even if we agree that people were being bad faith and is refusing to genuinely engage with what Bao is saying, which I agree with, I feel like her general messaging was obvious, we also have to agree that Bao is also refusing to genuinely engage with the feedback, and that her response made it hella worse when the drama could have ended from here. That being said, me personally, I can criticize her for not immediately clarifying, but my biggest criticism of her during this arc is the vague posting itself. In general, I hate vague posting. If any content creator wants to talk about a certain happening or wants to throw shade at someone that they can't completely talk about in public, then just don't say it. Say it in private circles or something, because the moment a vague post leaves your lips and onto the cesspit known as Twitter, many people are gonna want to find out. Many people are going to want to assume or figure out who you are talking about, what you're talking about, and what
I don't want to shit on her too much for vague posting. I've had to vague post in the past, like back in like 2024, 2023. So I get it. But these days I don't vague post anymore. I'd go direct to center, but I'm not going to guilt somebody for vague posting. It's a little gay, and we're all a little gay sometimes. I don't think this is too egregious though, but obviously this is blanket misandry.
the point of you talking about it was. Whatever bad happening that comes from your own vague post is completely your own fault. Vague posting is stupid. Vague posting is bad engagement farming. You cannot call other people stupid for not understanding or looking deeply into your own vague post.
That's fair.
That's just how I see it, honestly. But then literally a week later, in November, Bao got into another bit of trouble. Bao made a tweet on November 1 asking artists to request permission before posting art of their clients. Ere, you spoil whatever projects or plans they might have, and then minutes later, she posts, "I hate you, Skeb." Skeb is a Japanese commissioning website that doesn't operate on the rules of traditional art commissions. In Skeb, commissioners don't get to have revisions, don't get to have commercial rights unless agreed upon, and the commissioner doesn't get to have a large say on how they are allowed to use the art, but it's so cheap, so convenient, so good that you almost hand wave off most of these cons. As long as you understand what you're getting into by reading the terms of service, then you're good. It's hard for me to pull up the responses and the retweets from this tweet because it's already been deleted, so you're going to have to take my word for it. But in this tweet, she has had multiple responses and retweets calling her stupid and that the artists have no obligation to do that, especially if the commission was via Skeb. She deleted this tweet, like I said, after a while, because in literally 2 days, Skeb subtweeted Bao and gave an entire clarification in English just to hammer it home.
Good.
It was a bit of a public humiliation for Bao, honestly.
Yeah, Bao got obliterated here.
And of course, critics joined in on the call-out. A day later,
Because once again, Bao caused another issue to herself because she's so stupid.
she made the response, saying that she's sorry. She wasn't talking about Skeb on her initial tweet, and the second tweet below was just an add-on after she was talking to creators under her comment section complaining about Skeb because Skeb had the exact same problems. At this point, even passers-by started to notice. Bao was being hostile, being argumentative, being toxic, and surrounded by so much drama that it's hard to keep finding positive things to say about her, even if she did have understandable conditions that enabled these behaviors. Her already having a sunken experience in the past few years alone, the whole Cinder saga, and then last week's call-out? Even if one can look at these and feel bad for Bao, in the back of many people's head, it was also hard to ignore her agency in all of it. She keeps getting into a lot of these dramas and situations that at a certain point, you can't defend her. What if those small signs of intellectual incapability, her having these crash outs, her being easily manipulated, her being inserted into drama the 5th time this year, what if all of these were her fault? But at this point, the damage was done.
The problem is people don't hold stupid people accountable. They just say they're stupid. And that's why stupid people are so dangerous, because they don't need to take accountability.
Best, Bao was just self-damagingly stupid. At worst, maliciously misandry.
And it's the truth, because I'm a content creator where I would opt to say 99 to 98% of the issues and the accusations that have been thrown my way from all the people from Genshin to everything in my entire life are just retarded people saying they don't understand. And it does the damage. And that's why stupid people are dangerous, because their stupidity, they'll make it your problem.
Either way is not a good look, and it was going to be hard to try to get rid of it. She acknowledges this in a tweet later, saying that she hasn't been acting like herself at all, that this year poisoned her.
I would say the Jin Jinx and Tuner drama was like the crux of like people just saying every issue with Tectone, we have to dogpile incredibly hard. Dude, that whole was just so bad. And like, it doesn't seem so bad, but that was when the internet got the okay to dogpile on any issue, because they wanted me to apologize for me doing something that I never did and I never said. That was like 5-6 years ago, by the way.
Admitting that her being impulsive and wearing her emotions on her sleeve is a disastrous combination. And that lastly, she insists she's not malicious, just dumb ass. And well,
being dumb as is worse than being malicious, in my opinion.
People still found a way to not like this response, because if we look at the previous history of the post, she did not even say sorry on the original tweet and had to actually edit it afterwards.
Yep.
So was she actually sorry? Does she actually mean it? Is she pulling the mental health card again for sympathy points?
Of course.
I know this might not be the popular opinion anymore, but even in my previous video covering the situation, I gave Bao the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, this guy is being incredibly charitable. I would not have given her this.
I said that she most likely did not mean a lot of the things that she said or meant to hurt or offend anyone, especially the hostile acts. That her doubling down during the misandrisk arc wasn't her being serious about it, just her lashing out. That she was just overwhelmed and reacting with hostility, seeing red and accidentally making it look worse for herself. Is she malicious? Probably not, but I anticipate that a lot of people will heavily disagree. Does it still deserve criticism? Of course it does. There comes a point where the line between stupid and malicious blurs that you become so stupid it can come across as malicious, especially if you don't work on it. But my two biggest criticisms for Bao is that 1, she cannot shut up, and that from the incidents that we've gathered so far, 2, she can't take accountability.
True.
Again, a lot of what happened to her is not her fault, but it wasn't like she had zero control. She's a victim of circumstances, but a lot of these circumstances she created herself. It's always big harsh world versus poor little Bao. It's always Bao's approachability that...
Listen, man, I'm gonna just hope there's some hope in this world and people aren't watching her for her personality. I hope the people watching her are just jerking off, come, and then leave. That makes sense. I get it. You have this VTuber right here dressed like a complete stupid prostitute. I get it, people are jerking their dicks off and they want the personal connection while they come, right? But if people are actually watching Bao to be entertained, holy f***, you're even stupider than her. That's insane.
Always gets taken advantage of. It's always Bao's kindness that gets abused. Instead of working on her emotional impulsiveness, she would lash out, make excuses for herself, and blame everyone else, falling into this spiraling loop of self-victimization that she forgets or cannot take accountability for the parts in all the previous incidents that she had control over. She's an adult. Like I said, you can really only feel bad for a person to a certain extent or use the mental health card so many times before people start calling you out.
True.
She could have communicated better, reacted more calmly, actually used her head, and most importantly, shut up. I don't necessarily agree that these were mask-off moments for Bao. To me, this was just the other side of the coin of being a genuine stupid girl failure turned up to 11. Yeah, it's cute in the context of ooh anime, I don't know how to take care of myself kind of way. It's endearing when they perform it on camera, but in business relationships, in maintaining friendships, in conducting yourself in public, you cook yourself, and you actually have to take accountability for it. If you know you're stupid, maybe take steps to protect yourself.
Asking a woman to take accountability is crazy.
And others that take into account the fact that you're stupid. She needs to overhaul how she engages with people in public, and even perhaps how she conducts herself in private.
I mean, even I acknowledge that I was like, after playing gotchas for years, I realized that I was stupid. And the worst thing was, I acknowledged like that I was stupid while arguably being the smartest or one of the smartest people in the entire gotcha community. And even I acknowledged that I was retarded. So I took like 6 or 7 months off just to research, take courses, and really hone how to actually process things and figure things out just to not stay a stupid, dumb for the rest of my life. And sometimes the best thing you can do is just admit you really don't know as much as you think you do. Because the moment you humble yourself and you try to study and reflect, you will become much better.
If redacted stories are to be believed. 2025 started with Bao being a victim, but it ended with Bao being a villain. The Nanoless Cinder Google Docu, the career takedown that started to unravel Bao's reputation, happened in April of 2025. So there is some sort of poeticness to the fact that the career takedown, that is the Mal Saikuno Google Doc, also was released in April this year, as this is the most recent situation that Bao's name got smeared yet again. Now, the Mal Saikuno Google Docu is a weird saga. I already have a video on it, or at least I'm going to work on it, but Bao was loosely involved. In this Google Docu, it is revealed that this tweet, the misandrist tweet that jumped the Bao slander stocks, wasn't actually about Miskiff, but was actually vague posting about Saikuno all along. Many people went back to this tweet and said their pieces. Apologize to Bao. You all need to say sorry to Bao.
Nope.
Me personally though, yes,
No,
it does reframe what she said, but I still hate vague posts. I think the act itself was still harmful overall. And at first, the doc was a W. She was credited in the Google Doc to be responsible for informing Mal, the creator, that Saikuno had a girlfriend. Heck, she even took it one step further and connected Mal and said girlfriend. But when the Saikuno Google Doc ended up poorly for the original detractors, she was dragged into it as well. She had a hand in promoting a bad Google Docu and giving platform to the worst person to make said docu. So she would make a stream clarifying her involvement in all of this. She wasn't part of making the doc, wasn't part of the cancellation itself. There were no pushes to make.
She's only saying she wasn't a part of it because it was an L. If it was a W, she would have said, yeah, it was all thanks to me. Come on, guys, let's lock in here.
This doc from her, all Bao did was inform and connect the girlfriend and Hemomal. That was it. And that in terms of tweeting, she hasn't actually logged in for entire months. Now, while I do believe that Bao had limited involvement in this Google Docu, a lot of the backlash came from the fact that she got herself into another drama and another poorly thought out career takedown. Even if she was not involved, the fact that she got herself into this situation again makes people think that she has this like magical anomalous power to get herself into drama and then cry about it.
True.
And then one meme culminated it all. A screenshot of her saying, "Men sexualize us all the time. They just mad we now Donald them." All while having a Fansly account that says that she is, and I quote, a 24/7 free use puppy girl waiting to be put in her place.
Bao, once again, is another stupid whore with a megaphone. I'm sorry, I don't give a about the opinions of online prostitutes. I do not give a.
And well, it summarizes a lot of the issue people had with Bao, even enforces the misandrist arc. It gives the impression that Bao is the type to follow the men are pigs angle, all while being happy to receive money from said pigs and whore herself out. And while that tweet was made in 2021, we can see why that tweet was deleted. The audacity of it, you know, growing a parasocial, horny audience so you can read them for money, only to actually secretly loathe or think super lowly of them behind their backs. It does not look good.
Nope.
At least, not if you look at it without greater context. What she was actually responding to was a video where a tourist was claiming that VTubers are manipulators, that they exploit their audience with sex. I've watched this video and I know that it's old, but it's critique on VTubing that I think is very bad. Coming across as a cynic's perspective for being a cynic's sake. It has too many lapses in its research and whose critique isn't specific or unique to VTubing and whose conclusions are too much of a stretch to make a meaningful or impactful message.
If you don't think that VTubers aren't intentionally whoring themselves out for increased viewership, you're just retarded. Okay? There's a reason why for every one modest VTuber like Powder, there's thousands of them with Triple J mega boobs because it does directly correlate with increased viewership, and that's the truth. And it's the same thing with female streamers. A lot of them whore themselves out because they're not good enough to get viewership otherwise.
It's a video that I would constitute as being made by a tourist who doesn't really know too much about VTubing and whose exposure to the medium and industry is max a week or so. And
I'll go even further. It's the same reason why certain animes are overloaded with fan service because the rest of the plot really isn't that good. Case in point, guys, can you name me 3 shows that is overwhelming with fan service that has a universally like acclaimed rating? Like Monster, for example. Monster had like barely any fan service, but everybody knows shows that have to completely push fan service and fan service aren't that good of animes. It's the same thing with gacha games. The reason why gacha games have to push so much fan service is because the games really aren't that good. That's the truth.
If it was made 4 years ago. As someone that is part of the industry, I know this medium has a lot of flaws and things to criticize about, legit things, valid things, but this video was not it, nor was the creator the best person to make it. The video itself receiving a ton of backlash, even from other VTubers aside from Bao, is, in my opinion...
I'm sorry, If you think women are being sexual for themselves, that just doesn't exist. Okay? It doesn't. No woman's like, oh, yeah, I want to wear this skimpy ass bra because I want to feel good in it. No, it's because they're hoes and they want men to stare at them and they want to be sexualized. I'm sorry. You don't make your VTuber model wearing a bikini and a thong with Triple J boobs because you want to do it for yourself. It's because you want your audience to jerk off to you, and everyone knows it.
Justified. But even with this context in mind, it's going to take a lot to change a lot of our critics' mind. It's clear that a large fraction of people are just fed up with Bao, and it's a sentiment that will follow her for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, because she's not going to change because she's stupid and she refuses to acknowledge that in any meaningful capacity.
The biggest takeaway from all of this loops back to what I said in the beginning and in the middle of this video. Being a girl failure is cute, makes you popular, but it also brings you unwanted trouble and drama if you don't know how to rein it in. A lot of the dramas that Bao got involved in were dramas where she just needed to shut up and not get involved. Maybe she can learn from this. She learned it the hard way, but hey, a forced self-reflection is better than no self-reflection. Yes, she did retweet the Saikuno doc, but she largely stayed quiet before and during that whole thing, so she's going in the right direction, I think. The VTuber space is brutal. Bao herself knows this. Emotional openness is a strength for community and friendship, but it also becomes a weakness for self-management and appearance. Now, a lot of people aren't waiting for Bao to change. In fact, they're waiting for Bao to get loosely involved in another drama again. Also, they can have more reasons to clown on her. A lot of VTubers that has had that sort of heavy criticism and hate back then, like Vabe and Yanners, were able to somewhat rehabilitate their reputation by just shutting up and no longer embroiling themselves in drama. Mori Calliope has actually even found herself in a similar situation once in 2021, not knowing when to shut up and how to shut up, and not being able to manage her emotions, responding with clapbacks that only made it obvious that she was affected, and giving ammunitions for trolls. But 4 years later, it seems like even we have forgotten that she was like that at one point. It wasn't to the same extent as Bao, but that's because Mori caught herself at an earlier point in time. Now, I don't hate Bao. In fact, I quite like her. I have a thing for absolute loser women. So, you know, I have a bit of a bias and I am not as vitriolic as the hate there currently is on her. I was down.
Why the f would you ever, like, okay, I get it, but like, think about it. Why the f would you be more attracted to a woman because they fail to integrate into society and they're a loser? Right? Like, what is the point of fetishizing someone being a loser? You know what I think is hot as right? Because here's the thing. These are fetishized losers who say, I hate all men. You know what I like? I like women who are looking for a leader, who want structure for their lives, and they're willing to help that man create a beautiful life for one another. Why the f would you want to say, oh, dude, I just want a useless piece of shit? What the f? Like, this is the reason why women have such easy lives, is because people fetishize them being useless waste of space. Do you not realize how stupid that is? Holy.
Down there in the trenches, waiting in line, bought her merch and gave her the fullest extent of my benefit of the doubts. So much so that my benefit of the doubt stock is running critically low.
Yeah, do you want to know what's actually hot as Rumble Wallet?
If more happens, I am sure I won't have much to give of that to Bao any longer. But despite that, even I understand that Bao did deserve a lot of the criticism that many people have pointed out. Even if I don't necessarily agree with some of them, I can see why it's a problem. I want Bao to stop getting involved in drama. I want her to take control of her emotions and, you know, do better. To me, the extent of her actions aren't enough to think she's unforgivable, but she still needs to act. Bao is a dumb and it takes more than recognition of your flaws to try and address it, but it is the first step. In any case, I hope this video is a bit more balanced and
nah, she's retarded. Like, comment, subscribe. I'm done with dealing with dumb fucks. Absolutely not.